Let us explore scientific karma for spiritual skeptics. So, let's get down to brass tacks. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. But what could that suckiness look like? It looks like most people have been conditioned by most societies to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. So, many people try to coerce and control other people through fear. Karma's gonna get you if you don't watch out. And that's terrible. When it comes to neuroscience, we can be defined by our amygdala's fear and aggression, or we can be defined by our anterior cingulate gyrus's empathy. They're mutually exclusive, like two sides of a seesaw. So I'm not going to tell you that there is a spooky karma that kind of like operates like a curse in a Tolkien adventure. But I will tell you this, there is causality, there is cause and effect. I used to work out with cinder blocks, and if you drop a cinder block on a bare foot, you're going to get a contusion. There's no mysticism, it's simple cause and effect. If you charge a cop, they're probably gonna assault you. If you look at a cop sideways, they're probably gonna assault you. So there's no righteous retribution in the shit that befalls us. When Bodhidharma spoke of karma, he used it basically as a personal mindfuck. When we feel angry about something that happens to us, or we feel sad about something that happens to us, he recommended telling ourselves that we deserved it, which would make us less resentful and less full of self-pity and more prone to pull our heads out of our ass. He didn't say that was the fact. He didn't say that's exactly why it happened. It's just a mind game. The Buddha didn't hardly speak of causality at all. And when he did, he talked about it in benign terms, like our body affects our experience of pleasure and pain. Our experience of pleasure and pain affects our experience of intensity. Our experience of intensity affects our instinctual survival responses. Our instinctual survival responses affect our awareness. So that when the Buddha spoke in those terms, there was no sense of morality, there was no sense of retribution. There was just a sense that things affect other things. When we are empathetic and we consider how our thoughts might affect others for good or ill, that's not fear. That's just trying to use the phenomena of interdependence in a way that does the least amount of harm and the most amount of good. Anybody who's been in a relationship knows that just because you love someone doesn't mean you're always going to say the right thing in the right way in the right time for them in that moment. The same thing said on a different day at a different time might have a different effect. Relationships are profoundly and deliciously humbling that way. They show us that not only is there interdependence, but there is impermanence. That because of so many factors affecting us, that the means to meet others' needs is ever changing. So I would like right now to look at a passage with you, to explore a passage from Yongjia Xuanzhui's Song of Enlightenment that explores this hopefully more eloquently than I. So I'm going to tap button 14. Excellent. Welcome to Yongjia Xuanzhui's Song of Enlightenment, translated by Red Pine, adapted and amplified by yours truly. Please chant with me. Moon on the river, wind in the pines. Interdependence is why the breezy sky is so clear all night. And so, right off the bat, we're exploring how barometric phenomena are rational. They're not spooky. They're not mysterious. Let's continue. Just as the wish of handling true love, all Buddha nature beneficially shows up in the mind. Mist and clouds protectively shroud the body. Anybody who's ever had a sunburn knows that it's nice to be protected from the noontime sun, especially at the beach. So just as mist and clouds could protect the body from the UV radiation of sunlight, similarly, this thing we call Buddha nature in our mind is as beneficial as the fabled wish-fulfilling jewel or Aladdin's lamp. So Buddha nature, also known as Tathagata Garbha, can be thought of as this. Buddha nature is a charming Iron Age term for the fact that we have 3 neurological structures in our central nervous system that make possible not just the practice of the Buddha's path, but its mastery in a relatively short time. Each of us has a sympathetic nervous system which makes possible mindfulness. Each of us has a parasympathetic nervous system which makes possible physical relaxation and mental release. Each of us has a structure known as the anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, the root of compassion and love. These 3 structures make possible the practice of the Buddha's path. For mindfulness constitutes the 7th fold, meditation constitutes the 8th fold, loving kindness constitutes the 2nd through the 5th fold, which is 50% of the Buddha's path. The remaining 2 folds of the path are the effortless byproduct of the correct practice of mindfulness and meditation. So yes, it could be successfully argued that those 3 structures make possible the mastery of the Buddha's path. And the whole idea here is that it's not because we're special, it's just because we have a healthy central nervous system. It's not magical. It's simply using our body to generate a really positive effect. It's as simple as that. This concludes the opening lesson. I would very much like to proceed to the mindfulness and meditation practice now. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping, This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. We turn now to the latest iteration of easy meditation. Please chant with me. Whatever comes, may all beings let it come. Whatever stays, may all beings let it stay. Whatever goes, may all beings let it go. Welcome to the first quarter of mindful crease counting meditation. Over the span of 12 inhalations, we could advance our right thumb in the following manner, beginning with our little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Excuse me. Multiply these 12 inhalations by 8 sets, and you've got 96 inhalations. We could count those 8 sets on our left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of 12 inhalations each. To keep track of this, our first quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger, upon the tip of our left little finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so, wrong button. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in the bladder region of our lower abdomen. When we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we wind up cooperating with our sympathetic nervous system in a way that helps us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. When we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we automatically cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system to physically relax and mentally release in a way that causes what we noticed during our previous inhalation to fleetingly feel less tantalizing, less permanent, and less defining. So together as a team, let us practice mindfulness and meditation right now. Let us take a look at the 27th verse of the Song of Enlightenment. Please chant with me. My dragon-like aggression subduing bull, and my tiger-like terror calming staff, with his two rings echoing on the trail. It is not for accomplishing the protection and acquisition of the mundane, but for pointing out the tracks of the Tathagata's own staff. Well, what the hell is that talking about? Glad you asked. So, you probably heard this before, that if you ever feel like you hate the world, you're probably hungry. And if you feel like the world hates you, you're probably tired. This is nothing new. And so the bull represents that the fundamental duality, or the first aspect of the fundamental duality of Buddhism, is that we have instincts to dread some things and instincts to desire other things. And when they are just tools, they can benefit us and contribute to our survival. But when they control our choices, utterances, and deeds, then that's guaranteed to suck the joy out of life. So just as I mentioned that there is desire, there is dread. And so in Asia, tigers and bears were a big deal. And the whole idea was that the staff referred to in this tradition had rings on it, and it made noise as the monk was going through the jungle to scare off beasties, because even predators typically want to avoid humans, and if we startle a predator, well, that's going to be bad news for us, because most of them can run faster than us. But the staff and the jingly bits upon the staff would scare off even the predators, which is pretty cool. But there are better ways to eat, and there are better ways to experience safety than to spend one's life being a monk. Hence, the protection and acquisition we desire have to be greater than that of just mere survival, mere corporeal survival. And that would be the Buddha's teachings of the Eightfold Path. So, quick like a bunny, I'm going to drag us kicking and screaming over tonight's practice text. What if enlightenment was nothing more than mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path? But what do we mean by mastery? I mean, we get so good at the Eightfold Path that we practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. After all, due to neuroplasticity, children learn how to use the toilet, how to brush their teeth, how to tie their shoes, how to ride a bike. We can likewise get so good at mindfulness and meditation that the remaining 6 folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path can take care of themselves in short work in as little as a week or two. Welcome to the second quarter of Mindful Crease Counting Meditation. Over the span of 12 inhalations, we could advance our right thumb in the following manner, beginning with our little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Excuse me. Multiply this by 8 sets, and you've got 96 inhalations. We could keep track of those 8 sets on our left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of 12 inhalations each, To keep track of this, our second collection, our second quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, upon the tip of our left ring finger, palms up in our lap. Now that we know what to do with our breath and with our fingers, let us refresh our memory and remind ourselves what to do with our mind. By the way, working with our ring fingers gently invites our real or imagined energies to coalesce in the navel region of our mid-abdomen. When we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we are able to cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system in such a way as to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. This is called mindfulness. When we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we are able to cooperate with our parasympathetic nervous system in such a way as to physically relax and mentally release what it is that we noticed during our previous inhalation, to the point that what we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, any good teacher will remind us that a simile is only as poignant as it is relatable. So, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand? So together, let us play with these exercises right now. Well, all right, let's go back to button 9. I'm going to open up an additional text. Please bear with me. Let's go to Documents and D and Dzogchen and V and Very Easy Meditation. Okay, so I'm going to switch texts. Welcome to the third quarter of Mindful Crease Counting Meditation. Over the span of 12 inhalations, we could advance our right thumb in the following manner, beginning with our little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We could multiply, when we multiply this by 8 sets, we wind up with 96 inhalations. We could keep track of our 8 sets on our left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eight sets of 12 inhalations each. To keep track of this, our third quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger, upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so, we could gently invite the real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in the heart region of our chest. Please chant with me. The beauty of the octave sky blue kuntu zongpo and cloud white kuntu zongmo yam yam remind us of the highest, less spontaneous and uncontrived. One moment, something just occurred to me. Okay, let's go back. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. When we are trained by religious patriarchy to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, that sucks. When we bring that rigidity to meditation and we strive to actively focus and actively analyze, we wind up relying upon very specific neural pathways, such as those found in the medial prefrontal cortex and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. The problem is that these can exhaust our prefrontal cortex, which triggers our amygdala, which functions as the seat of anxiety and aggression. I think you'd agree that no one turns to meditation because we want more anxiety and aggression. Usually we want less, and we'd like to replace them with peace and love. When we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we cannot help but notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. When we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we cannot help but physically relax and mentally release. Doing so is quite beneficial. Number one, it calms the presence of anxiety and aggression. Second, it calms the effect that anxiety and aggression have on our choices and on our utterances and on our deeds. Third, playing with mindfulness and meditation stimulates our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the seat of empathy, the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, the root of compassion and love. This is exactly why the late Tukul Tundap insisted that the highest love is not the pale analog of love, which relies upon focus and analysis, but rather the highest love is the spontaneous and uncontrived fruit of simply noticing and releasing. You see, my friends, loving kindness comprises 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, including kind intention, kind communication, kind conduct, and commerce, which is as cooperative as it is kind. All this comes automatically and effortlessly as an effortless byproduct of our practice of mindfulness and meditation. So together as a team, let us practice right now, and please remember, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, or Buddhist philosophy, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. Welcome to the fourth and final quarter of this evening's mindful crease counting meditation. Over the span of 12 inhalations, we could advance our right thumb in the following manner, beginning with our little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Multiply this by 8 sets and you've got 96 inhalations. We could keep track of or count our 8 sets on our left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To keep track of this, our fourth quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, upon the tip of our left index finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce at the crown region of our head. Please chant with me. The stability with which the archetypes Kaglusam Mantam Bandara sits, and the abandon with which Cloud White Samanta Bandari sports, reminds us of the effortless effort of centered spontaneity. When we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, it could help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice all manner of things. On the first level, it could help us notice simply what we perceive. Sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. On the second level, it could help us understand what's going on in our mind. Emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. On a deeper level, it could help us notice the ways that the fundamental duality of desire and dread rears its head in our life. Which perceptions we prefer, which emotions we dread, and the like. And on the fourth level, we can notice something very, very subtle. The resistance we have towards the real or imagined absence of what we desire, as well as our resistance to the real or imagined presence of what we dread. For instance, we just had an election, and a lot of us are feeling great resistance to dreadful things that have been promised but not yet delivered. So the goal of this practice is not to belittle ourselves and chastise ourselves for feeling desires or dread or resistances. After all, we have evolved to feel those things, and they serve us in an evolutionary way, in a survival way, where the rub is when these impulses shift from being mere tools to tyrants in our lives, striving to control our choices and our utterances and our deeds. Fortunately, there's an easy solution. Every time we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we, in cooperation with our parasympathetic nervous system, we can physically relax and mentally release in a manner that helps us to let go of our desires and dreads and resistances. That doesn't mean they cease to exist. It simply means they cease to control our choices and our utterances and our deeds. Now, at first blush, this could sound horrifying. Are we being asked to go through life as a doormat, forever having the world to drag its muddy boots across our face. Well, here's the funny thing. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more we can notice our choices and our utterances and our deeds flowing from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. But should not be confused with the scattered spontaneity we might experience after consuming, 4 consecutive espressos, but rather the centered spontaneity, which is the effortless byproduct of mindfulness and meditation. So together as a team, let us practice right now. But before we do, allow me to remind you that the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist philosophy, or Buddhist meditation, please type your question in great detail immediately. Please strike while the iron is hot. Let's dig in. you have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 or so hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early morning meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the force be with you always.